Can you tell me about your daily routine when you lived on your farm?
Oh, yes. Well, we usually got up around 5 o'clock in the morning, and we tried to feed the animals and all before breakfast and milk the cows, and back to the house for breakfast. And then shortly after that, we went into the fields to do our work there if it was in the growing season. Otherwise, we usually worked in cut wood and things like that, you know. But we stayed busy.
Did you and your siblings get along well?
Yes, we did.
What were some of your favorite things to do together, like when you had time?
Well, we played a lot of games together when we were not busy with chores and what have you, but we got along pretty well.
What was your favorite thing about high school?
Well, I enjoyed high school. I had 2 years of French. I wasn't too crazy about French, but I did get by. By the end of my sophomore year, my father had an automobile accident. And my junior and senior year, but junior year I had to stay out of school and work on the farm until he was able to get back. And then everybody said, "Oh, you'll never go back," but I did. So I went back the next year and finished up. But that threw me a year behind my regular graduating class, but I made it. And
How old were you when you moved to McDowell?
about 4.5 years old.
So it didn't affect you that much when you moved from your old house?
No.
Which president approved for your father's tenant farm?
That was the latter years of the Roosevelt administration.
What was your favorite thing about being in the Navy?
Well, I enjoyed Navy life. Of course, life aboard ship was a little more confining. You know, you were close quartered, but we had our routines, and we had to stand our 4-hour watches usually twice a 24-hour period. So that kept us busy. But I enjoyed that, and I was in the engineering area, or in the mechanical part of it, and worked in the engine rooms and what have you. That was a challenge. Mostly below deck, though, you don't see out a whole lot down there. They called us the Black Gang. Well, back when they fired coal and steam, you got pretty black down there. So when we switched over to oil and nuclear, they still called us the Black Gang.
Did you make many friends when you were in the Navy?
Oh, yes. Yeah, quite a few.
Do you stay in touch with them?
I have over the years, but most of them are gone now. Not many of them have lived as long as I have.
Why did you leave the service? Were you discharged, or did you decide you've had your share?
Well, I came out with a medical disability. I fell aboard ship in rough water, and so that these 2 bones were driven up through that socket.
Oh my gosh.
Split the socket in 6 pieces.
Oh.
So I left the ship and went to the hospital, in North Naval Hospital, and stayed there 8 months with that, and wound up with very little motion in it. So they finally decided to give me a medical discharge and send me home. So I came out with 40% disability.
How did you meet your wife?
That's an interesting story. I was home on leave from the Navy, and my sister and my wife-to-be were in college together, Eleanor Ryan and Hickory. And she came home with my sister for the weekend, and I met her there. We corresponded some until after I was discharged, and then we started going together pretty regular, and wound up, she finally caught me.
What was the hardest thing about going to college?
I had been out of high school 12 years. That was the hardest part. I was married, didn't have any children, but everybody said, "Oh, you're too old, you'll never make it." But I didn't think I was, so I went.
But you never regretted that either.
No, that's the smartest move I ever made. Really. You're never too old to learn. Yeah. I was to the point where I had to relearn a whole lot. I'd forgotten a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And had to take some refresher courses and learn to study again and what have you.
So study habits to get you.
I thought I was, at my age, I needed to get through and get out. So I buckled down pretty hard, and I did my BS in 3 years. Then I finished up in December, and there was nothing available right at that time in my field that I wanted. So I went back to graduate school and did my master's in 1.5 years. I realize now I was not in that big a hurry. Those are the best years of my life, really.
What did you do differently?
I don't know that I'd do a whole lot differently from what I did.
You don't have any kind of regrets or anything like that?
No, I sure don't. Just wish I could have done more in some areas. But
What did you do as an agricultural extension agent?
I worked with farm people in what we call farm and home development on how to improve crops and livestock production and that sort of thing, and how to improve gardening and canning and freezing and that sort of stuff. Was
it something you enjoyed doing? Was it one of your...
Yes, I enjoyed all of that. It was a teaching experience, really, and I also enjoyed helping them to develop a farm management program that would improve their whole life and their economic situation as well.
What were the perks of the job?
The perks?
Yeah.
I think the main thing was the satisfaction of knowing you had done something to help someone.
What made you leave that job and move on to the next one?
Well, the opportunity opened up in the rural electrification program, and they called me and wanted me to come in for an interview. I hadn't even thought about leaving what I was doing because I was perfectly happy. But they made me a real fine offer, and I decided to take it. And I haven't regretted it because I wound up doing a lot of the things through the electrification program that I did. Otherwise, I did not do a whole lot in farming in the agricultural area, but did an awful lot in the area development type work.
Why did you move to Caldwell County?
Well, that's when I changed from extension service
to
to
the job. The job made you move.
Right.
Okay. So what did you do at Blue Ridge Electric? Like, what was your main job?
To start with, I was manager of the member services and power sales department, and I had 5 employees under me there. And then later, after I had my heart problems and got my pacemaker, they offered me a chance to do area development work if I wanted to, rather than promotional work. And I accepted that, and that really worked out fine. I enjoyed that more than anything I've ever done. It was quite a challenge. But
I never thought Blue Ridge Electric would do something like that. Like, you just think of them putting in power lines and not really developing the area.
Well, they do a heck of a lot more than you think. They're a member-owned organization. Mm-hmm. The people they serve actually owns the co-op, and they do a lot of things to improve not only the electric service but everything, the use of electric power and jobs and things like that. And they're very much community oriented and involved. We offer scholarships to members' children and things like that too. Just whatever we can do to help our members, because we're a non-profit organization, and if there's any proceeds after the end of the year, it's redistributed to the membership. It's refund.
Oh, that's nice.
So we're not for profit. We're for progress.
What was your reaction when you were diagnosed with sinus bradycardia?
What?
What was your reaction when you were diagnosed with sinus bradycardia?
If I got still, my pulse rate would drop down to as low sometimes as 28 beats a minute. And you felt unnecessary.
So you had to keep moving
Had to
around,
keep
so you
moving,
tried to stay
but you
busy.
couldn't go day and night, so you had to. But I was afraid to sit down or lay down. But it's right nerve-wracking too. But and the thing about it, my doctors didn't seem to know what my problem was. They were treating me with vitamin B12, and that was nowhere close to what I needed. So I finally could ask them to send me somewhere else. And they sent me to Baptist Hospital in Winston. And my first day there, they found my problem.
Must have been a relief to finally know that's what it is.
Yeah, it was a big relief to find out it. So we knew what was wrong and what could be done about it. And I was lucky there because the pacemaker had just been developed to the point that they were able to implant it. But the doctor said if you'd been here a year earlier, I would have told you to go home and do this. That wouldn't have been much fun.
Did it make you nervous being the
Yeah.
first exploratory kind of surgery?
Yeah, in a way, yes, it did. I got the very first pacemaker that came to Caldwell County 46 years ago.
Why did you go back to work after?
My general manager told me, he says, now, don't worry about your job or your health situation. The main thing now is get well if you can. But says your job is yours as long as you want it. Says if you can work an hour a day, that's fine. If you want to work 8 hours a day, that's fine. Hey, can you come back? So he said, don't worry about the job. It's yours, as long as you want it. So after I got settled in with my new pacemaker, it came along and offered me that area development job. I took it. Later he called me in his office one day and he says, you need to slow down. You're doing more than we require.
You must have been a very good employee to be able to keep that job
Well,
for so long.
I put in a lot of long hours, but it paid off.
Can you give a description of NCIDA?
That was an organization of people across the state from all the counties that had an area development program or an industrial development program or economic development program. These were the individuals that were working in that, and we had a state association where we joined together and got to know each other and know what we had to offer in different areas, and how to help each other. So it was just a kind of an employee association across the state, and we worked very closely with the North Carolina Department of Commerce, and it was just a great big working relationship there, which helped us all.
And that was ideas to come up with how to job growth.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Sorry. What was the bill you passed to Congress?
I helped write the North Carolina Industrial Revenue Bond. We did not have the authority in the state to issue industrial revenue bonds to help finance new business in the industry. All the other states had it. So we got that, wrote that bill and got it passed through the General Assembly. And then the Supreme Court ruled it unconstitutional because our Constitution didn't call for it. So we got an amendment to the Constitution and got it approved. then put it back in the General Assembly, and it passed. And that helped us finance new business and industry that came into the area.
And that helped Caldwell County grow?
Oh, yeah. We financed, in the late 70s, over $40 million worth of new business in the industry. And the thing about it was the recipients of the Welfare for Industry, a new industry came in, or an existing industry applied, they got a loan, interest-free, to do their expansion or equipment and all that stuff. And that meant an awful lot to them, to not have to pay interest on that kind of money.
What were the differences that you saw in Caldwell County while you were doing this?
Well, I saw quite a bit. At that time, most of all of our jobs were in furniture manufacturing and some in textiles. Very labor-intensive industries and very low-paying industries. And they had virtually no fringe benefits. They gave their employees 2 weeks off a year, one 4th of July week and Christmas week, but without pay. And they had very little health insurance. The employee had to pay half his health insurance. And it covered only the employee and not any of his family. Then most of them were at minimum wage. And the employees did everything they could to keep any competition from coming into the area to maintain that cheap labor, abundant labor. So one of my goals was to break that, which I did. I brought the Eaton Yale forklift plant here. It was an all-salaried plant, and their starting wage for the plant employees was approximately $8 an hour, which was way ahead of what furniture was paying. They had no time clocks. Everybody was on a salary. If you were too sick to work, your salary went on straight. You got paid. If you went to work too sick to work, they sent you home. Your hospitalization and health insurance covered not only you, but your whole family. And that was unheard of. And what we were doing, we were pulling some of the very best people out of the furniture industry. And that forced them to change their wage and salary program. But we got quite a few new jobs throughout the area there during that period of time that really helped our people to stay here, who were having to leave here to find decent jobs.
How did you do that?
Just by working through the state and every way we could to bring jobs here rather than have our people leave to get jobs elsewhere.
Did you have to make like promises or like cuts on their property? Like how did you?
No, I helped them find places to build their plants, and I helped them with the bond financing and that sort of thing. We didn't have any incentives to offer back then like they do today.
Right.
All we had was to sell the work ethics of our people and the livability of our community. That's all I had to sell. But it worked. And the community college, I worked very close with them to get our employees trained for the new jobs coming in.
So you made like new classes to put into the schools that would help them prepare for that?
Yeah, sure did.
What is your favorite family memory?
My favorite family memory? Golly. I guess, of course, my mother died in 1940, at 48. That was the year after I finished high school. And that was the year that my father was approved to buy the farm. And I guess that was one of the finest memories was moving into our own farm and home.
What was it like living during the Great Depression? Did it
Pretty
affect
tough.
you?
It's pretty rough. Of course, everybody was poor. Nobody had anything much. No money. We had plenty to eat because we lived on the farm and produced our own food, you know, milk, buttered eggs, and meat, and wheat and corn, you know, for bread. But we had no money to speak of. But everybody was kind of in the same boat, so nobody really realized they were poor.
What is the most exciting thing that's ever happened to you?
Golly, so many things. One of the happiest days, I guess, was the day I was discharged from the Navy. Because I'd been gone 4 years from home and was anxious to get back and see what I could do.
What was your family's reaction when you came home? How did they react to that?
They were elated. They were mighty glad to see me. Because I had only been home, I think, once during that 4-year period, and just for a week at that time, see. So, and I was too far away for them to visit me or vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's quite a reunion.
Did you guys have a celebration, or did you go home and just talk and be together?
Just went home and that was it. Picked me up at the bus station when I got in, and went straight home. No celebrations other than at home. No big street parades or anything.
How often does your daughter visit you?
About once a year. In fact, we visited by telephone this morning. She called me from China.
Has she told you what it's like living there?
Oh yeah. She's very happy there. They're in a apartment complex right in the middle of the university setup, and there are quite a few American people working there. So they're real happy. And right now, of course, they get longer breaks within their educational system. Right now, they've got 2 or 3 weeks off, and they're able to visit other areas, you know, and find out more about China.
Yeah. Have you learned a lot about it from her?
Well, some, but not a whole lot. I'll know more when they get back and all their pictures and stuff like that.
Do you plan on going and visiting her at some point?
I don't right now. I'm concentrating now on trying to get well, you know. Not traveling a whole lot.
What has been your best accomplishment?
Gosh, that's difficult to say.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I think probably was staying in school and getting my master's degree, being able to do things I wanted to do and things to help people.
Why would that be your biggest accomplishment?
Well, in growing up on a tenant farm, I never dreamed that I'd be able to go to school. Yes?
Hey, sorry I didn't know you had company.
Well,
But I'm just going to get you some ice real
Okay,
fast.
thank you.
Now that I'm in my-
so I had always dreamed that I would like to go to school. And I never dreamed I would be able to. But it turned out with the GI Bill and all that I was able, and I finally realized and took advantage of it. But so many who came back did not take advantage of the GI Bill. And that was a waste of time and resources.
Yeah.
What is one thing you would change about anything that you've done in the past?
I don't know that I'd change a whole lot. Looking back on it now, pretty happy with the way things went.
How would you like people to remember you? When they think of you, what do you want them to remember?
That at least I tried to help other people.
And that is something that you've always wanted to focus your life on, is helping others?
Pardon?
Is that something you've always wanted to do, is help others?
Yeah. I think that's most of what life's about, really. Or should be. Because one of our big problems now, as I see it, is greed and selfishness. Hooray for me and the heck with you and that.
If there's a quote that you could make, what do you think it would be?
A quote?
Yeah, like something that would be remembered for a long time, like they would have your name beside it.
Hadn't really thought about that. I would say open your eyes, close your eyes, open your heart, and keep the faith.
That's a good one. Growing up, who was someone you looked up to? Who was a role model for you?
My father. He was a man with about an 8th grade education, but I don't know how he ever did all that he did. He was a remarkable person and an extremely smart man with a limited amount of education.
Trying to make sure I covered everything. What made you want to adopt?
What made me want to adopt?
Yeah.
Well, we were married 10 years and didn't have any children. So we decided to adopt if we could. And we found this little girl, 6 weeks old, and got her. And we were just real happy with her. Then 2 years later, our son came along. But it made all the difference in our whole life, really.
Did you ever tell her that she was, or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she knew from the time she was old enough to realize, that. And she used to tell other people, said, I'm my dad's sweet adopted daughter. But she's just as much ours as she would otherwise have been. And she never did really want to find out who her biological parents were. She still doesn't know, and she doesn't want to know.
Says a lot. Thank you very much.
Did that do it?
Yeah, that did it.
Well, I hope.